Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co-hosts.
My name is Craig, currently growing my hair out because my barber and best friend of 15 years has decided to retire because she had her second baby. Hi. I can't say her name, though.
My name is also Craig, and a big hello and congratulations and welcome to the World Cup, right?
World Cup time. Yep, World Cup time.
It's
And
officially
now that you
started.
mention it, I do see that your hair is a bit longer now, Craig.
Mhm.
Yes.
I didn't notice it, but now that you mention it, it's
Yeah.
definitely grown out.
How
I
far are you gonna
definitely just
go?
had. Well, it's hard to get a barber in this town, or at least to schedule it, because you have to do everything through like a third-party scheduling app, and
Mhm.
everybody's booked because we live in a very populated town. So fingers crossed for Tuesday. But yeah, I've been growing it out. She retired, and I'm like trying to find a new barber after having the same one for 15 years. She's an awesome person, having her second kid. Very excited for her. But I'm like, oh no, oh my god, it's long.
Well, you want to know what doesn't leave after 15 years or doesn't have kids? It's the news this week.
It'll
First up,
never leave you
the
hanging.
news. Yeah, news is never going to leave you. It's not going to cut your
Yeah, it won't.
hair. You're not going
Nope.
to call it your
No,
barber, but it's going to be here
Yep.
yeah,
no
it'll be
matter
here.
what. So first up for us is going to be, and my first one is Pokemon breaking the internet for the wrong reasons. If you're anywhere on Twitter, one, the Pokedex is already out, so you can see everything there. But second of all, we're going to talk about it, but Scarlet and Nexus do not run well whatsoever. This is probably, if I'm being honest, probably one of the worst running games I
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
ever played. Uh, that doesn't, and just a little hit, that doesn't stop it from still being Pokemon, to be fair, and
Right.
you could still
No.
play the game, but just major pop-ins everywhere. Characters coming in at 3 frames, a second. It's very obvious that things aren't loading correctly right now. Many technical bugs with falling through the map. Pokemon just not being caught in their Pokeball. There's a ton of technical issues, and they're kind of funny, to be honest. It's like they
Mhm.
did this on purpose. But uh, I'm about 8 hours into Pokemon, so I've definitely played a lot of it this week. How about you guys? Did you guys get to experience all of the trouble that Pokemon's in?
I haven't played it enough to see a bunch of that stuff. I played like an hour so far. So it's been, and I've only played handheld. I haven't played docked at all. So far it's been okay, despite the fact that I don't think it looks very nice.
Yeah, my wife and I, she bought a copy, and we decided to just have one this time. And I haven't had a chance to play it. From what I heard from her, it's exactly everything that you just said, Barry, and what y'all probably are hearing at home from the internet breaking over this. So
My favorite was the one on Twitter of the eating animation. And
Yeah.
yeah.
like
Oh
the
my god.
character's mouth isn't even close to the food.
Yeah.
It's great. It's like they
My
didn't
favorite.
even bother.
And my favorite, and I'm not sure this isn't on purpose, but like there's this one town where it's really windy or something, or there's a storm, and the Jigglypuff, the moment you get close to them, just fly away. Like they literally just get
Mhm.
carried by the wind. It's quite funny, and I think it's on purpose. But if you're looking to play Pokemon and you haven't bought it yet because you hear of all of the bugs and how it doesn't run well, we'll tell you in a little bit how the game actually is, just itself overall. And then the last two stories that I have are both dealing with Sonic. Just a small one, and I get it. Sonic creator Yuji Naga arrested for insider trading. Can't be doing that. That stocks, and
Yeah.
what? I don't know what insider information he's getting, considering like he's the Sonic creator. Like you usually hear CEOs doing this kind of stuff, but I don't know. Sort of a strange one. But my bigger one and the one I want to talk about is the Dunky Sonic Frontiers drama. If you don't know it, I'm going to kind of catch you up to speed as quick as I can here. Dunky is a major gaming YouTuber. He kind of releases these very highly satirical videos, either praising a game or kind of throwing it down in the ground, and kind of saying straightly how a game plays without, I think, all of the reviewer nonsense that we end up seeing a lot of these days. His videos are
Mhm.
2 minutes when it takes us 10 minutes to read an IGN
Right.
story about Sonic Frontiers, for example. So he said the game sucks. To be short, he did not like the game. He thinks that it does not run well either, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This ends up with Metacritic, the reviewing site, getting a whole bunch of user reviews where the game was an 8.8 user score before the Dunky video came out, and now it is dipped to all the way to 8.3, where yeah, it's still
Ooh.
an 8, like it's still fine, but
Hmm.
that is considerable points all things considered.
Yeah.
And people are blaming Dunky fans for review bombing it because you have all of the review bombs are like Dunky fan 239 or Dunky lover 763. So they're blaming him for the review bomb when he comes out and says, it it's not his people, like he can't do anything or can't take advantage, or he didn't tell his people to review bomb Sonic Frontiers. It's just
Mhm.
his fans who are now doing it, and now the Sonic fans are upset because Sonic fans are afraid that Frontiers is not going to get played because people go to read the reviews and they see all of these negative ones for Sonic Frontiers. I know that was a little bit more long-winded than I wanted, but we made it.
No, we're good. Yes.
That's where kind of all the drama stems, and I think and it's going to be depending on each person's opinion here. Me personally, you really can't blame Dunky for this. He's always been very satirical of these games, whether he likes
Mhm.
them or not, and not all games he's very critical of, like, get like review bombed like this. And
Yeah.
I kind of just I do see the Sonic fans worry that, like, that the game's not going to do as well because people see reviews and it's Dunky fan 239 who hasn't played the game but just went ahead and review bombed it anyway. Like, that's kind of the part I don't like about all this reviewing system and score stuff, is the fact that I can go ahead and put a review in for a game I've never played, give it 0 because I didn't like the title or something like
Yeah.
that, or I didn't do this, or I can just go the game sucks, and that's enough to put it to warrant a 0.0 out of 10. So I'm not sure where you guys are in all it. I kind of like toe the fine line here where the site probably should have some sort of, and you really can't do it, some sort of way of like verifying you might have played the game,
Like
instead of
Steam
just
does.
yeah, instead of allowing
Mhm.
you to
Hmm.
just review bomb anything. But also, and you mentioned Steam. Steam is its own service platform as well, where Metacritic doesn't
Right.
sell games, so it's a little bit different in that particular case. But
Right. I,
I
I
don't.
the
How do you
funniest
guys
thing
feel?
the funniest thing to me is people who get worked up about a Metacritic score. Like,
Hmm.
honest to God,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter. Like, if you like the game, cool. Um, I don't buy into the fact that like there's all these people that are looking at the Metacritic and be like, oh, I'm not getting that game now because it's a 8.1 instead of an 8.8. Like, you're either gonna get a game, you're excited about it, or you're not gonna get a game. There isn't too many times that I can think of in my lifetime where I was gonna get a game and then read a review and didn't get it. Right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't really get swayed that much unless I can't even think of a time where like there was a game I was excited for and like an IGN review came out and said it was horrible and I didn't get. Like, everybody pretty much has their mind made up. I think, like I
Hmm.
said, like Steam to me is the ones that I take the most seriously when I'm looking on Steam because it tells you how long a
Yeah.
person's played the game, right? So if I'm looking at a game, because there's so many games on Steam, and I'm like, oh, here's this new whatever simulator game, since I'm so into those, and I'm like, oh, this person's played it for 35 hours and they gave it a 9 out of 10. It might actually be pretty good. But yeah, I don't look at Metacritic like ever for reviews. I don't care about Metacritic. And the fact that people are getting so upset over it is just kind of comical to me.
Yeah, and it's like it kind of reminds me of other platforms like I don't know, Amazon Prime. If a game or a product is going to go from, let's just say hypothetically, let's go with the Metacritic score, but pretend it's on Amazon.
Mhm.
If it's going to go for, what did you say, a 4.6 or a 4.
So it went from an 8.8 to
8.8,
8.3.
sorry, 8.8 to an 8.3. Sorry, I was thinking Amazon as well.
Yeah.
That's not gonna derail at least
Mm-mm.
somebody like me in terms of a score. I'm with you, Craig. I don't really live or die by Metacritic necessarily. If it might be the cherry on top if I'm hesitant on a game, but if I'm excited about one, it's not going to derail me,
Yeah.
from purchasing it in general. I don't know why people are getting worked up. Dunky is historically and godlike in his satirical nature, and I don't know the guy personally. I don't know. I don't think he would be the kind of person who would tell his fan base in order to like discount a game or to go out and
Further
just
his own
scream to them.
agenda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, for his own agenda. He's kind of he's not kind of, he is completely sincere in that aspect, and that's a lot of the reason he's beloved, besides, he just makes fantastic content.
Mhm.
So I don't know why people are getting worked up. I also, now that you've mentioned it, want to know like a number on how many Sonic fans there actually are that are getting upset about it. Like, I
Yeah.
want to know that number. Like, what is that number? Is it 1,000? Is it 5? Is it 4 million?
If you're a Sonic fan, you already have the game,
Yeah.
right? Like, you would have already bought
Exactly.
the game. And again, like I said last week, I don't think he's wrong. The game sucks. But I mean, he tears apart like every single game. Even if he likes it, he still tears it apart. That's just what he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Can, can, can I ask y'all a question?
Mhm.
Shoot.
Do you ever think that we would live in a world, and this is not really related to the Dunky, but kind of, did you ever think we would live in a world where a Sonic game, with how skeptical we all are, that a Sonic game would perform better upon release than a Pokemon game? Because
That's weird.
you can make fun of Sonic all you want, but like, I know we're going to talk about how it plays, but based off of what I've seen, not playing both games,
Mhm.
if I had to go out and buy one right now for Switch, let's just say Switch to make it fair for Pokemon. If I had to go out and buy one, I know I already own one, but my wife's playing it. If I had to buy one right now, I almost would buy Sonic over
Yeah.
Pokemon and play that first. Just
Yeah.
food for thought.
It's in a better state right now than Pokemon is.
Mhm.
Yeah, just something
And
to think
then
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one thing I did want to mention as well is Dunky is an owner of an indie studio now.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah,
making enemies isn't exactly what you, I think, want to do.
no.
You, even if it is the 5 Sonic fans that are upset that their game is review bombed, those are 5
Yeah.
people that can influence a score heavily in an indie game that doesn't get reviewed very much.
Yeah.
So, it's, and I know it's not his fault, but this is something that he may need to consider in the future. If his indie team, publishes a game and it gets review bombed or anything like that, he now runs the issue of, do people want to use his publishing studio, even though now he comes with a little bit of almost, and I don't want to say it's drama to him, but almost like a little bit of a condensation that you could pair up with him as a publishing company. He could review your game and still make it, and still be very satirical and call it trash. And then
Mm.
now what have you done? Kind of
Yeah.
thing. So there's a lot of like muddy feet in the waters here with what he's involved with when it comes to gaming. But I truly believe no media influencer should be responsible for the acts of their fans.
Yeah.
And it's not even gaming related. Like, take for example the Taylor Swift people right now. Like,
Yeah,
they're
but
riot.
that's a good thing because Ticketmaster deserves to get taken down.
Yeah, but Taylor's not responsible for her fans rioting in the streets
No.
or anything like that. That's Ticketmaster's fault.
Mhm.
So yeah,
True.
that's my news for this week.
All right.
All right.
I got some shorter ones here. So Dead Island 2 was supposed to come out in February and is now being pushed back to April 28th. not that far of a push, but when you factor in how many times this game has been delayed, and we're coming up on like what
And
5,
thought
6,
dead.
7 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's not too big of a deal. Hopefully it's just like polishing issues. But I can't help but feel a little bit nervous that we're going to start seeing this all over again. When we're like, it needs more time, and then it'll be maybe next year, and then it'll just be gone forever.
Yeah, me personally, I don't care to wait a couple more months. To be honest,
Mm-mm.
they've already
Yeah.
Does this? I won't believe. I'm at the point where if this game never comes out, it won't bother me. But if it does come out, I'll be like, oh, that's right. Dead Island 2 finally came out after 6 years. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I'm in this weird limbo of not
Yeah.
really, caring whether or not the game comes out. But I'm excited for it. It's Dead Island. They're
Yes.
fun games.
Yeah.
But I won't believe it until I see it on shelves.
That's true. Yeah. February stacked anyway. So maybe this is a
Right.
blessing for any moderate to higher dedicated gamer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the first Dead Island. I've beaten it multiple times. I think it was a great game. I don't know if it's still like if this is still going to have the pull that the original one had coming out now. It's kind of past its prime as far as that type of game, but we'll see. And I don't mind waiting 2 months. That's fine. Second one I have here is Crystal Dynamics threw out a survey online recently and got over 100,000 responses on people wanting a Legacy of Kain remake, including me as one of them, because I thoroughly enjoyed Legacy of Kain as a kid back on PlayStation 1. So I'm hoping that this means we're going to get a remaster or remake or retelling. I don't care. Just give me more. Did you guys play that, Barry? You probably didn't, right?
Yeah, I'm too young for this game.
Craig?
I don't know. I don't think I did. No.
Okay. It's another one of those ones that like I have fond memories for, but trying to go back and play it now, because I think it is on like PC, is probably not going to go well. I don't think it's aged well. But if I can't have Prince of Persia remake, I'll take a Legacy of Kain, that's for sure. And then the last one I have along the lines of remakes here is Tecmo is working on Ninja Gaiden and, believe it or not, Dead or Alive remake. With
Finally, my favorite beach volleyball game.
I was just gonna say Dead or Alive remake with remastered physics engine, right?
Finally.
I forget what they used to call that engine, but it was like there was a
Yeah,
big
I
deal.
can't
That
remember.
was their selling point back in the day.
Mhm.
I just want to know, like, I know there's hardcore fans out there of the Dead or Alive like fighting game series who thoroughly enjoy it, and then they kind of went away with it and went like the whole opposite direction with the beach volleyball and everything going on with that. I just can't imagine that there's like a huge outcry for more Dead or Alive. I just don't see it.
No, maybe more than Sonic fans. I don't know. We could be.
I
There might
feel
be
like
more.
there's more Sonic fans than Dead or Alive
I know.
fans.
Yeah, this is a showdown for the centuries. What's going on now?
It's Sonic easily. Now I
Yeah.
bet you they're saying Dead or Alive, so I'm assuming fighting game, but do you think they would have a bigger pull if they were said a new Dead or Alive fighting game or a new Dead or Alive beach volleyball? Can they even make that nowadays?
I don't even
Probably.
know.
Well, like the thing is beach volleyball is a niche. There's no
Yeah, it
beach
is.
volleyball game, so that
True.
that is something to consider. Where fighting games, there seems to be more and more good ones coming out every year.
Right.
So
He's making a case for the beach volleyball.
He's making his case. He's making his case.
Yep.
look, there's a niche. There's a niche that needs to be filled, and it's the beach volleyball fans.
Hear me out, but what if
Yeah.
it was a beach volleyball / dating simulator game?
See, and now, the thing is
Yep.
the thing is now there's so many more dating simulator. You got to stick solely with the beach volleyball. There's got to be no dating in this one.
I mean, you can add that as long as there's a handhold button. Maybe if it's right next to like the spike button, you know.
Yeah, true.
Accidentally hold hands instead of spike the ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But I mean, I guess for people who are excited for Dead or Alive fighting games, there's some hope. I was more excited for Ninja Gaiden. I'll always take more of that. Those games are great, if not frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are the three I had.
All right. Well, kind of a smaller one, depending on if you're still playing the game or not. But Ubisoft revealed that they are releasing the last chapter, which is AKA Title Update 1.6.2, which will be the last and the final update after 2 years of just consistent content and support for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I don't know, I wrote that one down. That was the first article I wrote down this week, and I don't know why. I think it just blows my mind that that game is literally one of the first games that I played on the PlayStation 5,
Hmm.
and they have continued to be creating support and DLC and just they essentially made a 110-hour game a 240-hour game. That's basically what they did. So I don't know. For me, it's just interesting, just that's the last update. Like they're done, and how long it's been. I don't know if you guys had anything
I
on that.
I want a percentage of how many people, one, have beat Valhalla, and two, have played all this extra stuff. It's got to be so minuscule. Like, I
Yeah,
can't
I mean,
imagine. There's probably two
I
people
beat
out
it.
there. Yeah, but I'm talking about
I
like all the extra stuff
Oh,
too.
beat the extra stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like two people out there maybe.
Well, here's
yeah.
the thing too, and this is early start of the podcast
Mhm.
era here, but like I wrote a review for
Yep,
Valhalla.
yep. I
And
remember.
if you guys remember, like Valhalla wasn't a bad game by any means, but
Mm-mm.
that
Mm-mm.
ending was completely like on like
I don't.
it was very bad. Like
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
needed to do all of
yeah,
like the order stuff or the hidden one stuff before you went ahead and finally got an ending at least somewhat satisfying. I will admit the DLC does take into like Siege of Paris, which I have, but I never played. I bought the platinum edition of Valhalla, but I did beat it, so I don't mind that I paid that money for it. And then Dawn or Age of Ragnarok, which is they have their own Ragnarok thing there with Eivor being the incarnation of Odin
Mhm.
type of
hmm
thing. So there's definitely a lot of like Norse mythology, which I love that they jumped into for sure. It's just it took too long for this stuff to come out, me personally, and with all of the games fighting for everyone's attention right now, you would have to be a massive Assassin's Creed fan to be playing like the newest
yeah,
final update for it. There are so many other open world games that, in my opinion, are better than Valhalla, but if Valhalla is solely what you play and dump your time into, this is how I want to say a game should be supported at least.
Sure.
You would like to see games there's so many games that, lifespans ended early because they didn't get enough support. And
hmm
Valhalla had that support throughout all of it. Yeah, do I
yeah,
wish their DLCs could have been more interesting? Yeah, do I wish they could have done this, that, better ending type stuff? Sure. I really wish they could. But it took them too long to get to some of, I think, the good DLC. And I
hmm
think they eventually have to cut their ties with it to work on other projects and that kind of thing. Valhalla will always be definitely a time sinker of a game. It's just a matter of you really would have had to love it, I think, to be
Yeah.
to be finishing everything, because there's so much this game has to offer. That game had to offer. So
Yeah, I don't want to discount too. Like, we play a lot of games, but like there's a decent amount of people out there who, you know, maybe you bought a PS5 and you can't really afford too many games. So if you had this game, like the amount of value you're getting out of it is very high.
yeah,
And like that's commendable, right? You could be playing this game still to this day from day one, right? If you were taking your time, and 200 hours, that's a long time. So I appreciate games who put the value out there as long as it's not just like filler. And it doesn't seem like it was for the most part. Like some of that game was filler, but them adding stuff all the time is, commendable.
yeah. I like to think of it maybe as them apologizing for the last 2 years for how the ending was. That's what I'll hang my hat on that.
That's
the
fair.
Age of
Uh,
Ragnarok stuff was probably pretty good. I would have loved that as being a Norse mythology geek, or a mythology geek in general. So
mhm,
maybe one day I'll play it. Maybe when the DLC, much like for Odyssey, I think that like the Atlantis DLC at one point was like $10.
Mhm.
Like if that Dawn of Ragnarok stuff becomes $10, maybe I'll give it a shot then because it's not a $40 DLC.
Right.
And
Yeah. So I guess next would be God of War Ragnarok music contributor Jessica Mao came forward recently on Twitter stating that she had not received credit from Santa Monica Studios for her work on the latest game, the possible, if not like frontrunner for Game of the Year contender. If we could go into like a couple of things that she did, I know one of her most notable works, which you guys will definitely know, is the Thor boss fight, and
Mhm.
specifically that Freya chase scene in the beginning of the game.
okay.
Now, now, according to what Santa Monica Studio is like, what their guidelines are, is they have a quote unquote threshold for how many people can be, or for a place of the amount of people who can be credited for certain things, which is why they're saying that she wasn't added. She has gone on her own Twitter to announce her contributions to the game, which is nice, to get
Mhm.
her voice out there and such like that. That just made me interested, specifically because we have been recently talking about Bayonetta 3 and that voice actor's trials and tribulations with
Mhm.
with uh with that recently. So I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Weird excuse on Santa Monica's part.
Yeah.
They but also like this is just the type of person I am. I would have like messaged Santa Monica Studios myself before announcing on Twitter like, "Hey, like I'm not getting credit for this stuff." Just because you put that out there and then other companies go to look at your media stuff and then they go, "Oh, I don't know if I want to work with this person," because they seem to make a big deal about something that they could have just asked us about. This feels like
Mhm.
one of those things. The Santa Monica, I'm going to call it an excuse,
Yeah.
doesn't sound right and they should have just said, "Hey, we're sorry, we'll put your name in the game," or something like that. Like just a simple update. That's all it takes.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah,
they probably need to update the game anyway for some, specific reason or bug fixes.
There's updates every
So
day on that game.
yeah. So
there
so
no, there is.
hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully it gets fixed. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think maybe and if we're at the point where she already did that and Santa Monica is kind of like, no, we're not doing this, then she should absolutely be somebody who's doing this out there. This is kind of the big debate that, and the big debate I've heard about is, should I do my work for free but get a ton of notoriety, or get paid for my work
Mhm.
and not have as much notoriety? And it's kind of like that difference where if you're doing work, get paid for it. Don't
Mhm.
never and never take notoriety or the chance of more stuff getting, or the chance of your name getting out there as a sign or as payment, because you don't know if that will ever amount to something. Get paid for what you do always,
Yeah.
and keep
Yeah.
receipts. So it's that kind of stuff. So hopefully Santa Monica Studios fixes this. This is something that seems like you could change quite easily if you
Yeah, for
wanted
sure.
to. So, and
Yeah.
Santa Monica, like as far as we know, is a pretty good studio with like how they
Yeah.
work their employees, with how, and well, like we knew God of War was crunched, but
Mhm.
if hopefully Santa Monica's a good enough studio, just go, okay, yeah, our bad, let's put your name in it, and then that fixes that issue, I think.
Yeah, as of right now, I saw that there is no intent to, on the next patch, add her name into the credits, but you never know, especially if this thing picks up steam, or more steam at least. That you never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I guess the other one, definitely Craig and myself, because being in our 30s, will definitely feel a certain type of way about this, and a little bit sad. But couple of deaths. I know we didn't mention Kevin Conroy last week, perishing. He died on the 10th. Most notable is the voice actor of the 1992 animated Batman series, which literally was why I love Batman to this day, being an 80s baby. And
He voiced
also,
also Bruce Wayne. So just for me, he voiced
Yep.
Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond,
yeah,
and that was
yes.
Batman Beyond was my
Also
stuff.
also
And then
Arkham Asylum.
Arkham.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he did Arkham and Injustice as well. To your point, Barry, Batman Beyond is a diamond in a rough, and I
Mhm.
love that. I love that show. I also love the 1992 Batman series as well. But he essentially is Batman, and if any of you at home have a chance to like look through who has been saying some things about him, it's just fantastic. It's like I was going through like the voice actors, and it was like so and so, voice actor of SpongeBob in this, says that he is God. So and so, like, it's just like it's everybody in the community, specifically that very small but successful and doing like 5 people doing all the voices animated that we know. Like that community is reveres him.
Mhm.
And then the other one, and we could talk about both gentlemen, would be Jason David Frank, who most notable as the Green, and then after he saw the voice of good or heard the voice of good, mainly Zordon,
Yep.
the White Ranger has also died as well at 49, and that's just a big hit to the 90s is
It
what it
is.
is.
Yeah, that was Spider-Man. Sorry, whoops. No, Power Rangers was a big, big part of my life there. For especially in my childhood, and everybody wanted. If you were a kid during the '90s, you watching Power Rangers, everybody was him.
Yep.
Everybody was the Green
Yeah,
Ranger or the White
Yep.
Ranger. Everybody wanted
yeah.
that cool flute, and
The
the
flute, yeah.
yeah, maybe at some point I just watched the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie for that, because like that, yeah, that movie is good old '90s trash, but I love
Mhm.
that movie, and
Yeah.
he always like he was always one of the people for like Power Rangers that was always like promoting the brand. Always wanted to be always wanted to be in like the huge like Power Ranger like meetup episodes where the oh no, the most recent Dragon Nebula fighting Power Rangers. I know I'm being dramatic. I have no idea what they're on now.
Yep.
Um and oh no, the Power Rangers can't do it. We need the previous Power Rangers, and then it's you
Yeah,
get to see him there cuz he's always like that lead one there. He was the face of Power Rangers for a
he was.
while.
Yep.
And it's sad to hear the way he went.
Mhm.
Uh from what we know, it's suicide, so hopefully, n- I shouldn't say hopefully, but it sucks to know that like he didn't just die of natural causes or something like that. He wasn't in the right frame of
Mm.
mind or something like that, which you just hear with too many young actors from the '90s right now. Aaron Carter, I think what
Yep.
1-2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
now him as
Yep.
well. A lot of
yeah,
people from the '90s don't seem to be in the best mental health, so hopefully hopefully every actor from the '90s is at least trying to do better or at least getting better with their health, because it seems like it's something that's happening a lot more often right now.
Yeah, this past like month or two there's been a lot of people who have
yeah. There
passed
has.
away. It was like all of a sudden, young and old. So I don't know. I know like they usually say like this time of year is usually a spike in mental health related issues and suicides and that kind of stuff. The being dark all the time, cold, that doesn't help. Also the holidays.
Yeah,
But yeah, this was a tough week for sure. 2 weeks really.
definitely. And I know it's been years, but we also don't have Trina. Trina,
Mm-hmm.
the Yellow
Trina.
Ranger. Yeah,
Yep.
we also don't have. That's like two. That's two out of the six
There's
main. If you,
more. There's more. There's been like 5 or 6 people from that show who have died. It's
that's
crazy.
crazy.
It's cursed. So there's like the Power Rangers curse is what they always say. So
Oh God, is that what they
uh
really say? I
yeah,
had
there's
no
been a
clue.
ton of people from the Power
Zordon,
Rangers. Yep, Zordon. Yep, he died
Zordon
like
said
right after that show. But yeah, there's been a lot.
Hmm.
it's like the new 27 Club.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Any
but yeah, on
uplifting
that.
news?
Yeah. Actually, I have something written at the bottom that I almost scribbled
Sweet.
out because it just blew my mind. Did you guys know McDonald's has a gaming chair?
No.
No.
There is 4 of them
Okay.
apparently in existence. There are 4 of them in existence, but
McDonald's, I could use a new gaming chair if you think you could hook me up
yeah,
here. I'm the
it
I'm
it
the
looks
only one with an off-brand gaming chair.
yeah, it looks exactly what you would think it is. It's got kind of like a similar shape to a standard gaming chair, but it's got the yellow stripes. I think it says McCrispy across it, like a
No, I
bunch of
need that now.
Yeah, I'm
If it
seeing
says
it.
McCrispy,
It
I
does say
gotta have it.
McCrispy. Yep.
And it's got a slot for a standard size, well, I guess a standard shaped McDonald's like French fry holder, for
Mhm.
lack of a better term.
Not a McFlurry holder because there's no way you get in
Yeah.
that because the machine's
Nope.
broken.
Yep.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
if you really want to rep your fast food brand, rep what matters to you most.
I don't
There's,
know if I don't know if yellow
there's-
matches my room very well. I got to think about that as well. But the
This
McCrispy, that I
this
need
also
that.
says that it's grease proof. The chair.
yeah,
Oh, and everybody knows me as the grease monster, so I think I think I gotta have it.
we
It,
do
it
know
would
them as that.
it would look real nice next to my my Game Fuel gaming chair that's in the other
There you
room.
go. Yeah.
Just match them up together.
There you go. But yeah, there's a high note, and on a high
Yeah.
note,
There we
McDonald's gaming
go.
chair.
There we go. Good way to switch the mood there. I was
Yep.
definitely down in the dumps before I heard of McCrispy. So let's get into the games this week, in
Yes.
which for me, there is obviously no doubt Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and God of War. I have more of my solid opinions about it.
Sure.
Perfect.
I played a ton of God of War. I'm still not done.
Yeah.
Pokemon, obviously, and I played some Warzone too.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I played DMZ.
Okay.
That's what I played.
Okay.
Haven't touched that, but I did play Warzone too.
Look, I'm going to be doing a lot of listening and just slight chiming in because it has been all God of War, baby. All
Just
still not done.
Still not done.
How
Okay.
how many hours are you in?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm at like now 27 or 28.
I
I'm
just
really breaking off and doing all the side stuff though.
I just passed 23. But I have been trying to I've been like doing everything in an area when I go to a new area, but not like diving real deep in trying to like find like all the ravens and all that. Like if I don't find a
Mhm.
chest, I'm not spending like 30 minutes trying to hunt it down. I'm just moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing kind of the same. Because I don't know if I'm gonna go back afterwards and 100% it. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can on that first
Yeah.
playthrough.
Yeah, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about God of War just because that
Yep.
is the older of the two games that we're talking about here. God of War, about for me, I'm 8-10 hours in probably, and I'm
Okay.
working my way up for sure with what I'm playing that game with. You said last week you guys didn't like Atreus's combat, or is
No,
Atreus annoying? Is that what it was?
I don't like
Pl-
the. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you're probably saying the same thing. Playing specifically as him
Yes.
is annoying. Like he's
bad.
fine as
Yeah.
the companion as he's always been, but playing specifically as Atreus is
Right.
what's annoying.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to say I do not agree. I loved playing as
wait.
Atreus.
Just wait.
Ew.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Are we getting into God of War now? Do you want to get that out of the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here's again, and we're not doing the spoiler thing yet because we haven't beaten the game, and that's a separate podcast. But I will say that my issue that I have with God of War is the more I play this game, it's weird because I'm enjoying the game a lot, but the more I play it, the lower the stock falls for me on this game. Like the more, and part of it is like the high notes for me are obviously like I'm doing my stuff with Kratos, I'm doing some battles, and then it just comes screeching to a halt because it switches back to Atreus. And I'm just like, oh my god, I was having so much fun, and now I'm gonna go back to Atreus and do this 45-minute walking diatribe, and it's just like, it's just so it just brings my excitement level down, and then I kind of like slog through that and then get back to the Kratos stuff and I'm having a good time and then it happens again. I was like, oh dear God, just I'm here. It's called God of War. I want to play as Kratos. That's like my feeling. I still think it's a good game, but like at where it stands right now, where I am, like this is not game of the year material for me.
It's affected me less,
Okay.
but I am annoyed with the Atreus parts. Like
Yeah.
I kind of just resolve myself as like it is a prize to get through it because either I learned something or I get back. I'm trying to get back to Kratos. That's what I
Yep.
just keep telling myself as the main character.
And he's
It
annoying.
does. He is, and like I'm really curious with the question that I asked last week as to who is more annoying
Yes. It's
between
close
God of
now.
War. Yeah, because like, and Barry, you'll see it when you get as far as we have. It might
Mhm.
be a contention. Now, I haven't played Requiem, so I don't know how
Yeah.
annoying that kid is in that game. I know how
He's pretty
annoying
Oh,
he
annoying.
was
He's
in
oh
the
annoying.
original.
yeah, oh yeah. He's a
So
piece.
consider that, Barry, like that he is obnoxious in that game and I can't stand him. But like Atreus is starting to sneak up to that level for me.
Interesting. I am
Yeah.
wondering to see if he gets that way for me
And
because
why did
for
we
the most part,
decide
his
on
com.
what? No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for the most part, like I really like it because I think his combat is fun. It's so
His
it's
combat's
so
fine.
different. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh
okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It's just the character that we're
Correct. But like
okay.
why did we decide all of a sudden this year to have the annoying younger child be a huge staple in gaming all of a sudden? Like, where did that come from that, like, we need a younger character that's obnoxious to further our story, you know? Like, I just don't understand where and maybe it's because I played the 2 so close together that I
And then
was
you
just
also had
like
yeah,
Bayonetta,
and
and Bayonetta
Bayonetta.
also has this younger,
Yeah.
younger side person as well. So
Maybe
you're
that's
not
part of
wrong.
the problem. Maybe I'm just like I was so like my mind was grated by Plague Tale and then Bayonetta and now Atreus and God of War. I'm just like, I am so done
Mhm.
with the younger, I know better,
adolescent.
obnoxious attitude. I'm just over it. I don't want it in a story anymore. And like the God of War story is good. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
take away I think it's awesome. Um, but God, there's got to be a better way to further the story. I guess you can't really. If I'm thinking about that story, it's needed, but
yeah.
man,
I feel like they're yeah. They just it's all gonna come to something towards the end,
yeah.
and like that's what I keep trying to tell myself. And there's going to be a couple of times, Barry, even though you like the Atreus combat, but you're just going to be there's a couple of times I found myself saying, just stop yelling at Kratos.
Yeah.
Like just like
Yep.
who are you talking to? Like, like that.
Right.
That's that's where I've kind of like found my mind going in parts of it. And I don't know. It's probably going to matter a lot at the end. There is a good part with him that just fleshes out the story for other characters,
Mhm.
which Craig, you might be there. Barry, you will get there. But ugh,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And
like
go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say like, and I was speaking. I was gonna start speaking generally about the game, or did you want to
Mhm.
keep talking about Atreus?
No,
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 no, no.
no, go ahead.
Go. Go, go.
So generally about the game for me is I do struggle a little bit with the control scheme. I so wish right like the switching weapons is what's really like getting kind of making me
Mhm.
I guess not have as much fun. They really should have released the back button attachment for a PS5 controller so that I can just make left and right on the D-pad underneath my hands. I have to do the whole like
Mm.
weird claw thing where I got to have this finger come up above the R1 and
Yeah.
press, the D-pad there in order to continue moving at the same time as while I'm switching weapons. They really need to do that. I don't know what Sony's doing, but I do agree with you. Overall, I do think the game is good.
Mhm.
I'm starting to see where the story's going, and I do like the whole kind of perspective where Kratos seems to be a lot more inward right now. Like he's talking to Mimir of all people. He didn't talk
Yeah.
to anybody. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
did genuinely laugh when Atreus tried to open a chest like
Yeah.
how his father does.
Yeah.
I
That was funny.
genuinely laughed at that.
Yep.
Uh,
That was funny.
luck, Luckily, he's a god because he probably would have shattered his hands. I'd know. I've punched concrete as hard as I can before. I've broken my hand, so
Mm.
he's lucky he's a god. I wish I had that. And I just need to keep seeing where the story goes, just because this continues to. It seems like this is all about beating your expectations. Tyr's not what you think he is.
Right.
Atreus, is rebelling against his father like any old, young teenager would do. Rebel against your father. And I don't know why I brought
It's,
out I don't know why I brought out the
I don't
southern
know.
accent for that.
I don't know where that came from.
That's how I feel about all these games though. I feel like that's how the pitch went in all these meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad. All right. I'm glad you feel
Yeah.
the same as me at least.
Yep. Yeah.
Game still looks pretty. Really
Yeah,
pretty though. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't
There,
even
Yeah,
gotten to the really pretty part apparently.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
what you yeah. What what they do well is the transition between your control of the character and then the next cutscene or small
Hmm.
like what they the camera angles that they nail. I don't know why it can't be replicated in a lot of other games, you know? Like I just don't.
Hmm.
And it's fantastic and it really makes it a cinematic. There was a couple of times my wife came out and she stopped and watched the scene because like she was just going to get like maybe some water or something like that. But then you know, you're in some part where they're fleshing out a little bit more of the story and somebody's doing something awesome because that's God of War, like, you know, regardless of whether it's Kratos or somebody else. Like they just have a way of presenting it that's that's irreplaceable. And that's what makes it you keep going with the story, you know, and being marveled by it.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a moment that I had not too long ago that it was a cutscene, and again, we're not spoiling anything, but it was like it's a simple cutscene where Kratos is going back to sleep, right? He's going to his room to sleep. So he goes and he sits down and he takes off whatever armor you're wearing at the time, right? And he takes it off so he looks like the the old God of Wars, he was always shirtless, right? But
Mhm.
there's just this moment when I was looking at it and he takes the armor off and he's sitting there and like you can see the chains, like the burn marks from the chains around his arms. And
Mm.
for whatever reason, they nail so perfectly when he sits down. Like I was sitting there watching and like you've been like massacring millions of enemies and he sits down, you look at him and you're like, he looks so old, right? Like
Yeah.
just like beaten down and old. And I know that's what they were going for. And I was just like, holy cow, they nailed it. Like he just
Yeah.
looked incredibly good. And I don't know how they did it in that instance just to make him look like that. But you're just like, this dude is like beaten down, been through a million things. He's got whatever's going on in this game without giving anything away going on, weighing on his mind. And he just looks like he's done, like he's over it.
Yeah.
At that
Yeah.
point, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that was incredible to me. But on a side note, what's getting to me is they have over fluffed the side missions on this game. It's too many. It's way too much. I think the last game was the perfect amount. There was a lot, but it was like it's not there's so many more in this one. Every time you go in an
Sure.
area, they're like, here's 6. I'm like, you need to stop, right? Like, I'm gonna explore every area of this because I enjoy doing that in God of War. I don't need 6, 7, whatever side quests telling me to go all over the place. Just trust that people want to explore your area anyway for the chests. I don't need, hey, can you go find this for me? Hey, can you go collect this for me? I hate that. It's just like you're padding your playtime to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just think the first one, the last God of War was such a perfect balance. This one to me is like tipped way too far for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
That
think I think I'm
actually
getting spoiled with like
Yeah.
how fast like some story games move now because and
Mm-hmm.
you've mentioned it before too. If this is going to be a weird like thing to say, but like if I don't get a full 8 hours of sleep the night before and I start playing Call of Duty, sorry, if I start playing God of War early in
Yep.
the morning, I'm going to start getting sleepy again.
Yep.
Like the story moves at that pace where it's just a little slow. There's not like this huge climactic rumbling all the time. It's a lot of like building, which
Yeah.
is, what good stories do. So I find myself, if I'm even the tiniest bit tired, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I should play God of War. Maybe I
Yeah.
should play Pokemon instead. Cause
Mm-hmm.
like Pokemon doesn't require me to have my full attention span
Yep.
like God of War does. So I feel like for me that's why I'm on like the slow path here with
Yeah.
this game because and The Last of Us 2 I think did this so wonderfully is The Last of Us 2 I felt like there was a good amount of like really epic storytelling but also not a lot of lull between your fight and then the
Yeah.
next fight sort of thing or not a big lull between a fight and then a puzzle that you may have to solve or something like that for extra vitamins or stamina or stat boosters in in
Right.
Last of Us too. And I just find in this game that if it's not side missions you're doing, it's a lot of this, like, in a boat, going to this one coastline, doing the combat, which is fun. The combat is without a doubt a lot of fun. And then trying to figure out, okay, did I look through every nook and cranny? Because
Yeah.
Atreus didn't say the line, "Hey, I think we're done here." So it's like, wait, am I missing something? So now that you've made Atreus have him to say those lines, now I worry about how I'm missing something in the game. So it's it's just like a couple things that just keep the game from me wanting to play it more. One, because I feel like the story puts me to sleep if something epic isn't happening.
Yep.
And then on top of it too, the moments when you're not doing directly the story mission stuff is the stuff where the game tends to take a lull and a back seat and slow itself even further down to where you're
Mhm.
not even progressing the story. You're just helping out some dwarves or helping
Yeah.
out Mimir or,
Yeah.
you know, God forbid I go to the coast and I find a treasure or a puzzle chest that I need to spend 15 minutes figuring out.
And
For
you haven't even gotten to the parts of the story that like slam you to a halt either.
Yeah. Well, and on
Mhm.
top of it too, it's like, and then I wait, and then I try like hitting something for like a good 5 minutes, and then Atreus finally says, "Hey, I don't think we have the tools for this."
Yeah.
And then in my head,
Yes.
it, and then in my head, I'm like, "Oh, I was hitting it with the blades of chaos. Now I need to hit it with the Leviathan axe." And he's like, "No, we still don't have the tools for this." And now it's 10 minutes that I've been hitting the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that that I wish maybe they were more apparent in. Like
Mhm.
you didn't even have to have Atreus say, "Hey, I don't think we have the tools for this." Maybe just something that says, a little gray box, which they do already, that says,
Yeah.
"Hey, you don't have the equipment yet," or like
Yeah.
come back at another time, sort of thing.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's just a couple things that keep me from really like diving into this game like I did with Devil May Cry 5 or with Last of Us 2, where I could put in 20 hours in 2 days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think, Craig, that there is a distinct lack of epic boss battles in this
Yes.
game? There
Yes.
just there just isn't
As soon
any.
as you said epic,
There's just
I knew where you were going.
and that's God of
Yep.
War, right? Like that's every God of
That's the
War I've
formula.
every God of War I've played, and I've played every single one. That's what I enjoy is like, and even the last one had a bunch, and this one I'm just not seeing it. Like they start you off on a high note.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but then after that, I was playing today and I'm just like, I don't think I've done more than 2 or 3, and I'm like 23 hours in. Now there's like mini bosses, like they pop
Yeah.
up with the health bar and you're like, okay, this is a mini boss. But I'm talking about like I think of like God of War 3. And like every hour there was like here's the big boss fight for the area. And
Yeah.
it's going to be cinematic and it's going to be awesome. And they did that at the beginning, right? With Thor. That was there and that's what I was like, yes, this is the God of War I like. And then it's just like don't do it again. I'm so
No, you're right.
confused.
You're right. There's like for me, it feels in the same area in terms of numbers of bosses, and there
Mhm.
are the elongated health mini
Right.
bosses, like you're saying. I even ran into what essentially is their version of Valkyries, but for
Yep.
this game.
Yep.
But there's something about God of War where, and it goes with the scenes where there requires a specific input button press. Kratos gets thrown up here. He's on
Yeah.
some big thing and he runs down and then he puts his blades of chaos and swings over to the other side. There's not that stuff anymore. And they
Yeah.
start you off with that. Thor throws you here, he
Yep.
throws you there, and then the battle continues. There's like 2 or 3 portions of that,
Mhm.
and it's just not as evident in this one. And that's part of what made that's their formula. That's part of their formula. It's
Yep.
not in the secret sauce is not in this one in that aspect.
Right. And I feel like I've been like saying how much I hate it. I don't hate this game. I think it's a very, very good game, but it's just so not what I expected out of God of War.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Pokemon time then.
Pokemon
Speaking of
time.
not
Let's.
expected. Speaking of not
Oh no,
expected.
it's exactly what I expected.
All right,
Cracks
here we go.
knuckles.
Cracks the knuckles. Let's dive into the biggest game of the year right here.
Oh,
Pokemon,
boy.
or I should say most grossing, because that's not debatable. This game makes gajillions of dollars.
It does,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the now next generation of Pokemon games that we've gotten for this year. We did allude to it, and I will start off with the game does not run well. I already kind of told you everything that it doesn't do right. What it does do right, though, is the Pokemon aspect. I There is this sense of discovery that I mentioned with Temtem, where I just don't know when Pokemon evolve or what I'm going to find around the corner. I just know that, oh, that's new. I want to see what it is. I want to catch it and I want to teach it stuff and have it be part of my party. So, like, in the general Pokemon aspect of things, I think it's fantastic. Like, the Pokemon designs are good. I think the evolutions are good as well. It's just a couple other things that end up kind of leaning me toward this is just another Pokemon game. It is truly open world, and that I think is a lot to do with the issues it's having, especially. On top of that, it has the issue that all of these open world games have is I don't know what to do. I am I am stuck in purgatory of do I do one of three things and is it where I'm supposed to be? Like there Pokemon trainers in the area seem to be a bit more dynamically challenged, but you can hit a point where the Pokemon is 20 levels above you, and there's nothing you can do but you have to faint, like all your Pokemon die or faint, and then you have to turn around and go somewhere else. Is the is kind of like the This is the trade-off of being open world. I love the Pokemon's linearity in ways. I like that I can
Mhm.
just go somewhere and I'm walking in a general direction that I probably should be going in. And in this game, there's a lot of open world, a lot of wild Pokemon out for you to catch, battle with. I feel like there's a lack of trainers, to be honest. There isn't, in every Pokemon game, there's this one alleyway in which there's 10 trainers or something like that. In which you defeat the fifth, you go run to the Pokemon Center, and then
Yep.
run back up to face the other five.
Yep.
So I feel like there's a lack of that in this one. I'm just sorry. I had another point I wanted to make, and I can't.
Is it that it's game of the year?
No.
It's better than Arceus, I'll give you that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. You reminded me of what it was. They took a couple elements out of this game that I liked in Arceus. I really like the fact that I don't need to fight every Pokemon in order to catch them.
Yeah.
Like in Arceus, I could hide in the grass. I'd have a crap ton of different Pokeballs and I could throw one at them and catch it without having to battling. That made the collecting portion of things very easy and I liked that. I really don't know why they took out that feature, to be completely honest, because it's a real big quality of life for me that I feel like I'm spoiled with, and now I can't live without. So maybe, hopefully, they add it in a way. But this game is it does the Pokemon stuff well, and I get they're iterating and they're trying to make things feel new and different. But I just continue to run into the issue of and it's definitely showing its age right now where we have games like Bayonetta 3 that deserve a better console to run on. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 also deserves that. And now we run into Pokemon where is it the game or is it the Switch?
Yep.
Like what is
Yeah.
holding it back? Do the developers want to do more? And do they want to make, a cleaner game, but they can't because uh because it's limited to the Switch. And one thing that's kind of crazy, and I was watching YouTube videos about it, is the fact that like Nintendo co-publishes these games with Game Freak, and Nintendo is known for delaying games and making sure that their games run smoothly on their console. And while Nintendo doesn't own Game Freak or Pokemon, they are synonymous. Like, they are one with each other. You haven't seen a Pokemon game come out for PlayStation since the era of time has
Yeah.
started.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you've created this relationship. So why isn't Nintendo treating it like its other franchises? Is it Game Freak's fault? Like, I just don't know where the hiccups are here. Is it the system? Is it the company? Is it the game? Is it the developers? Like, why can we not get a pretty Pokemon game, and two, especially in this case, one that runs well
Mhm.
is what I run into. But I have the same problem as any other Pokemon fan right now. I don't care how buggy it is. I'm playing the crap out of this game. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
there's
you're part of the
like,
problem.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
it, and so are
Yep.
the millions
Yep.
upon millions of other people who bought this game at launch.
Yep.
Like, Pokemon comes out and the world is different. It feels like,
Yeah.
uh, because every kid is playing it. Every person that pretty much is 30 to 40 years old is probably playing it. So it feels like, all of the 50, 60, and 70-year-old are like, what are they doing? What is this Pokemon sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. But I have rambled on for quite some time about Pokemon here. How do you feel about it, Craig?
Um, so you kind of hit on one of the points that I had like written it down because I didn't want to forget, is that we've reached the point where Nintendo, I'm talking about Nintendo, not Game Freak, needs to step up and make a competitive system in order for these games to be the way they should be. And Bayonetta is one of them, but this is like the most evident one for me, that like we have games that look like God of War and Horizon and Forza, and you're
And
stuck
Halo looks
in
good too. Like,
Halo, and
Mhm.
you're stuck. They're stuck making these games on 720p because handheld, uh, and the hardware is not there. And Nintendo at this point needs to step up and do a 4K console. But the reason why they're not is exactly what you said, because people are going to buy anything that has Pokemon on it regardless. They do not
Regardless.
care. So I just think it's a point where Nintendo is like, yeah, we know our console's inferior, but guess what? We're still selling millions of these consoles, millions, and we're selling millions of copies of Pokemon. And Bayonetta is, honestly, I think they look at Bayonetta as like, Bayonetta's whatever. I don't think they really care about
I
Bayonetta.
hate that because I love
Yeah.
Bayonetta so
Yeah.
Yeah, and a
much.
lot of people do, but
It's
they
so
don't
good.
look at it as like a important, it's not an important franchise to them. It's not on a Pokemon or Mario level. Um, I would love to see Bayonetta get away from Nintendo somehow, right? Like go to I don't even care if it's Sony or Microsoft at this point. Just go somewhere else so
Go on
that they can.
computer. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like just get that game where it deserves to be, which is 4K, 120 frames per second, just looking
Oh my
beautiful,
god, yeah.
dazzling across the screen, which you're never going to get
Mhm.
on a Nintendo console, because Nintendo is stubborn. They don't care because they're making money. People are going to buy these consoles. Evident in the fact that they're still selling the same Switch Black Friday bundle that they've been selling for like a bazillion years now with Mario Kart. They
Mhm.
do not care whatsoever.
Boxes are a little bit more squarish, not as rectangle this year. Keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
but they do.
Oh, okay.
It's the
Yeah.
same thing every year. They don't care. Um, But the game itself, like, again, I've only played like an hour. The intro is more of what I wanted from a standard Pokemon game. You're going
Yep.
to school, pick your Pokemon, let's do it. I'm all about that. Um, in my head, I kind of looked at it as like when I was a kid, you play Pokemon Blue or Red on Game Boy and Black and White, Black and Green, and you're like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have a game where I'm just walking around and Pokemon are all over the place and I can just catch them? That's there now in this game. Um, in my opinion, I have more fun with this game than I did with Arceus. I think this is a better game than Arceus. It's just not running well, but it's more of a traditional style Pokemon story, not gameplay, but story. I'm having fun so far. I really like the way the Pokedex goes when you catch a Pokemon and it does like the little book and puts it in there. I think that's a cool
Yeah.
little touch. Like that's cool. All those little styles are very interesting, but the bugs are awful. And it just really takes away from the experience. So as somebody who didn't like Arceus at all, this is more in the direction that I wanted. But again, man, I would kill to have a game like this on Xbox or PlayStation. My goodness, it would be so cool.
Yeah, we're seeing all these developers essentially just outrun the
Yeah.
Switch,
Mhm.
and they require, we had a conversation about, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 podcasts ago about, in general, just specifically the Xbox Series S holding, like forcing developers to hold back because they have to make it also for that console too,
Yep.
but like without going into that can of worms again, you got the Switch that's letting everybody else outrun them in terms of what they're trying to produce. And, you got another big title coming out in May with the second Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
And they were able to, they had no qualms being able to produce a fantastic product with the first. But now I'm starting to worry about big titles that show up, and try to do bigger things
Yeah.
on the Switch because the hardware just isn't there. So, like, if I could answer a portion of your question, Barry, it's a lot of the Switch. It is definitely a lot of Nintendo knowing that our wallets still, they own it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what they produce. But I'll tell you what, I didn't pre-order Pokemon this year. And for somebody who's not like in an invasion of the body snatchers mode, my wife last minute decided like, hey, I'll get it. Fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've broken the spell of having to get the next Pokemon.
Yep.
I hope that other people do too, not to
I'm
take
gonna be
away from
doing this till
Pokemon.
I'm 80. I'm
You
almost
I
will.
get it.
guarantee you. Yeah.
Yep.
I get it, but like there are people who love Pokemon and grew up with it and had Blue on Game Boy and watched the Pokemon series and had
Yep.
the training cards and lost a friendship because somebody stole his holographic Ninetales,
Okay,
who
we're getting
decided
personal now. This
Yeah,
is
we are.
personal.
Yeah, we are.
who decided this time he's just not going to buy it. He's just
Come
going to
on,
wait.
calm out. Calm out, Craig. Come on. Who are we calling out on the podcast today?
We are way too big on this platform.
That's awesome.
I don't want him to get buried, so I will not call him out. But
That's
there is
fair.
somebody I'd never talked to since he stole my holographic Ninetales. He knows who he is.
That's fair.
Um, but yeah, like for somebody who has spent so much money on Game Freak and Pokemon prior to 2003, I'm the kind of person that's just not excited about a Pokemon until Pokemon has a platform that it can go on.
Yeah.
And I'm sad about it, but my opinion's not going to change Nintendo's roundtable. So
Yeah. I do personally think that like overall though this is a good Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Like it's just the bugs and the fact that it's graphically being I think restricted by what it's on is what keeps it from reaching its potential. And it was the same thing we said about Arceus because Arceus also didn't run that well either and also had some visual glitches as well. Uh but then and I was having this conversation it makes me wonder whether or not like and this is in the future the new Breath of the Wild game or the new Zelda game comes out. And let's say that game runs cleanly spot on, no issues whatsoever.
Mhm.
Does that
like
mean then like does that mean one other developers aren't taking advantage of the Switch like they should or two is the new Zelda game not innovating like how Pokemon is trying to innovate right here. So that's where I kind of like the gray areas. I love Zelda and I'll buy the next Zelda game of course. And if it looks great and runs great, fine. But then how how does the new Zelda game run fine and then not Bayonetta or not Pokemon or not Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Like there's too much if, what's, and ands about the Switch and not enough like the solution. And like I love my OLED Switch to be fair. I know we talked about it last week. Like I love this thing. It is
Mhm.
it is a clear upgrade over my original and I'm happy I have it, but I also just want I I want something where going to a Switch game doesn't feel like I'm going back, I don't know, 10 years into the
To
past with how
PS2 era
yeah.
Right.
So
sometimes. Yeah.
that's what I feel like. I truly love I truly do love Nintendo and their games and the system. I do love the original idea of the Switch and what it did do for kind of console and home gaming, but or sorry, console and like to go gaming, like the true hybrid that we dreamed about for a while. But now like we're running out of the point where Nintendo just needs to bite the bullet and go, okay, you can have the mobile console, the Switch, or you can have the home console. And if we're lucky, you can play that one game on or that one game on both systems and have like a significant upgrade over one or the other,
Yep.
depending on what it is. I feel like that's the way they have to go. But again, Nintendo just continues to say, "Oh, we're working on it," but they never tell us when it's coming out or what they have in store. Is it
Yeah.
Yeah.
is it this spring? We'll see. Is it the spring of 2023 where we see an announcement? Maybe, but until then, it's I'll always continue to look at my Switch like that little brother or little
Yeah.
sister of the
Yeah.
Xbox and PlayStation.
Yep. Yeah, I don't I have never bought a game for the Switch that I could buy on Xbox or PlayStation ever. The only thing I buy are Switch exclusives because why would
Yeah.
I want to play anything on that console that I could play on an Xbox or PlayStation? It makes
Hmm.
no sense whatsoever.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because like I was gonna ask you, Barry, did you get Sonic on Switch or did you get Sonic on like
Oh,
PS5?
PlayStation, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
There it
I
is.
I heard play my thought process was, okay, Sonic is an open world, open zone, quote unquote Sonic game. I want it to run well and I want it to look good, which the I didn't talk about it, but the little I've played of Sonic Frontiers, I'm okay with it so far. I don't hate it. Um it's an okay Sonic game from what I believe, and I definitely like that they're trying this new portion of things for it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, Pokemon. So,
It's fair. Pokemon, at the end of the day, this new one's all right. I think that's like a fair assessment.
yeah, I'm having fun. And I don't, and Craig, when you pick it up or you start playing it, I don't think you're going to regret it at
Yeah.
all.
Oh, I don't
Like,
either. I don't.
and they're definitely, I do want to mention there is a step up in the character models too. These
Yeah.
character models, like the hair physics and the way they talk and emote with their faces, does look a lot better than
Just
previous
not the
games.
eating physics.
Yeah, the weird eating, the weird eating thing is weird.
Oh
Um,
my gosh. Yeah.
But overall, that's the games we played this week. You definitely got what you wanted for Pokemon. Definitely got that out of me at least.
Yeah.
Movies this week.
Yeah.
I finally watched Top Gun Maverick
Yes.
and the new Apple TV Plus with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, Spirited.
Ooh.
Yes. I also watched Spirited. I also watched Christmas Story Christmas. So there's 2 Christmas movies there. And then I did see Wakanda Forever.
Oh, sweet.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to hear your take on that. I not a big week for me again. I got to get back into watching things, but I've been just so focused on God of War. I watched
Makes
the
sense.
Smile. I watched Smile because I'm still in
Oh yeah.
creepy mode, even though we're in November.
I forgot I watched that this week as well.
Yeah, so that's all I got.
So I guess the oldest movie is Top Gun Maverick. So I will
Yep.
talk about Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
How's that?
First off, wow, one of my
Yep.
favorite movies this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maverick, and it does the same thing as Top Gun. Who knew like the jet fighting could be like so tense and make me on the edge of my seat, like with everything they did. The movie is gorgeous, utterly just filled with. The, I watch, and to be fair, I watch a lot of like 4K disc reviews from on YouTube. I think his name is like Cinema at Home or something like that. This is by far like if you have a 4K TV, that a good 4K TV, and you have a sound system, you buy this disc and you
Yep.
buy a 4K player for it. It looks incredible and it sounds incredible. The the airplanes taking off, the bass you get from it, the gunfire, the acting I think is top notch too. There's a reason this movie broke all tons of records um
Yep.
when it came out. And it I'm lucky enough to be able to have a very close to cinema feel in my own home, but I totally get why this movie made people come back to the theaters, because it is just it's fun. There's not I don't find it too slow. I really do think there is very few flaws I have with this movie, if any at all.
Hmm.
Um there is some things where I feel like Tom Cruise feels like, oh, I have to be the center of attention, sort of thing, where I kind of wish like he wasn't. Sometimes I wish he just kind of let Miles Teller in his own good acting right take that next step as well. But overall it is fantastic. I can't recommend this movie enough. I really can't.
Yeah, that's a must buy for sure. There's very few this year that I think are like must buy. Um, let's do Spirited because
Spirited.
Hey,
I
yeah.
uh I really like this movie a lot. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. The idea of a Will Ferrell Ryan Reynolds musical about
Comedy, yeah,
Christmas, yeah,
musical comedy, yeah.
like
Sign me up.
yeah, and I mean anything Ryan Reynolds is in, I'm there. Will Ferrell, you have to be hesitant sometimes because he did the what was the Sherlock Holmes one? That one was awful.
Oh
He
yeah.
can be hit or miss, but for the most part, like I enjoy, and I think like the music is good. It's extremely funny. I just like I had a blast with it. I expected it to be good, but I think it was better than I thought it would be. Honestly.
Yeah, I think me personally, I liked the movie.
Mhm.
I came in and with the expectation I was gonna like it, and I did.
Yeah.
Um, I do it. I kind of enjoy like. Not only is it really good, just like chemistry between Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. I also like the throwbacks to Charles Dickens' Christmas Story, which this has heavy inspirations from. I
Hmm.
really do love that. I like the big drop of like Will Ferrell's character
Yep.
uh with with it as well. That Good Afternoon song, like I still I still have it in my head
Yep.
a little bit a lot of the time.
It's a good
And
one.
yeah, overall this is a really good holiday movie. Especially when you consider like the ending they were going to throw at you and then they changed the endings. It's the ending isn't what you expect it would be for, especially for a holiday movie like this.
Yes.
Uh but overall I think Apple is trying to like definitely try to make their way in like the movie sphere with like AAA actors and that kind of thing. I think this is definitely one of the better money well spent
Oh
sort of
yeah.
movies where I enjoyed the holiday portion of it. I thought it was funny, and I think for the most part they like this is a good, and especially now they mention it, the
Yeah.
elf line he
So
has to
good.
it. It's so good.
I
I laughed pretty
lost it.
badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
this
laughed pretty
this
hard at that one.
this movie looked expensive.
Yeah,
They put
it
a lot of
definitely
money
did.
into this movie, you can tell.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheap. But yeah, I think it'll end up in my rotation of Christmas movies every year, honestly.
I think so too. I think you could go from Elf to this and you probably
Yeah,
wouldn't miss anything.
yeah, that's true. You could combine the two, I guess.
Yeah, you could go to like Charles Dickens Elf into Spirited. I think I
Yeah.
just created a nice more
One, two,
5 hour
three.
time frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
uh
then watch Jingle All the Way as your finale, because that's still my favorite Christmas movie.
the finale is Die
Okay.
Hard for me on Christmas Eve, but yes.
Ooh, okay.
I
I like it.
every year I watch Die Hard Christmas Eve night. That's like my go-to. And I mean Elf and Jingle All the Way are in there, Home Alone, but like I
Oh, of
have
course.
to I have to watch Die Hard Christmas Eve night. It's just like my go-to.
See,
And
for me,
then
that's a Charlie Brown Christmas. That's mine.
Christmas
It's
Eve.
yeah, just a Charlie
Okay.
Brown Christmas. It's just from being a kid,
Yeah, yeah.
Just do it every year.
And then
Oh, it's
Christmas
a
Day is a Christmas story.
yeah. And well, like for me too, like we're talking about Christmas stuff, like it doesn't matter what I watch, but I always cut out time to watch those old like Christmas movies, the stop
Mhm.
motion ones. Like they
Yep.
they they don't look terrible even to this day, and they're at least 50, 60 years old.
Yep.
Uh, and I don't know, it just reminds me of being a child so much with those movies. I could watch
Yeah.
all of those and then watch Jingle All the Way, and then I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so Christmas Story, right? Christmas Story Christmas, which came out on HBO Max this week, which is I mean, my wife watches Christmas Story like 8 times on Christmas Day because
Oh my god, I'm so
they play
sorry.
it all
I'm
day,
so
right?
sorry. I'm
So
so sorry for you.
I didn't watch it very much growing up. Like my parents didn't really watch it that much. I've seen it, but I've definitely watched it more now. But Christmas Story Christmas is so like I think they made Christmas Story 2 somewhere down the line, but this is like 30 years later. So Ralphie from Christmas Story is older. He's an adult with kids. I think that this was done pretty well. I enjoyed it. Starts off a little rough, I thought, and I was like, I don't know about this, but after like the first 15 minutes, I was like, all right, this is actually pretty good. The ending of the movie seamlessly ties itself back to the very first movie, which I always like that kind of stuff. It's like seamless, and I was like, that is such a cool way to do it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Is it something I'm going to watch every year? I don't know. I my time with it was fine. We'll see if it ends up in that Christmas rotation. It might, just because I feel like you can never have too many movies in your Christmas movie rotation, just like you can never have too many horror movies in October. Like there's always room for more.
Truth.
You can always throw more in. Um, Nothing will top like A Christmas Story is like iconic for a lot of people. Christmas Day, you
Oh
watch
yeah.
Christmas Story. It just is. Whether or not you like the movie or not, it's a big part of Christmas. So I think it's worth a watch. If you enjoy the first or the original. If you don't, you're probably not going to find too much there that you like. But it's a decent movie. Um, Wakanda Forever. Can't forget about that one. Um, am I the first one out of all of us to see it?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
I will say that for us, because we all live in the same area, I always go to the same movie theater, which is kind of run down. So it was a nice surprise when I went in and found that they had completely recarpeted the place. They have recliners in there
Oh,
now, and they
okay.
completely revamped their sound system, so it sounds phenomenal. So that was like a big plus, going in there and sitting down and being like, okay. What I'll say about Wakanda Forever is the first 10-15 minutes of the movie is such a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It's phenomenally well done. To take the time, like no intro, just go straight into uh, a funeral and like a remembrance for him, and straight cutting to the Marvel logo where it's all scenes from him, all of his
Oh
Black
wow.
Panther scenes in purple, like the Marvel logos in purple. So well done. It was an insanely well done tribute. The movie itself it's a longer movie. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I think that there's a lot of this movie that could have been cut out. It's too long. Um, I enjoyed it, but it was definitely parts where I was like, this is dragging. This is too much. Uh, they cut it down to like, I honestly think you could take out probably a half hour or more of this movie
Hmm.
to streamline it. Uh, the women in Wakanda Forever, which is like the main focus, do a good job of carrying the movie. They really do. I'm not completely sold on Shuri as Black Panther. I'm just not. Um, she does a good job. I just don't know that she's like, for me, it was like the movie, she didn't have that like superhero moment in the movie. They didn't really give her one. Um,
Okay.
so I think the movie, it's beautifully shot. The story's great. The villain is awesome. I really like the villain. Um, but I think part of the problem that I had was when I go to a Marvel movie, I expect a good story, which I got, and I expect good action scenes, and there's not a whole lot in this movie. It's a lot of slow dialogue. um and I was just like, they're setting up the villain, right? they're setting up his people, where he's from, and it's all really cool. I really like him, but it was just too long, and it just goes on and on. And there's so many moving parts and different characters doing different things that you get the big payoff fight scene, action scene at the end, which is really cool. Very, very cool. But other than that, there's like one or two other scenes in that 3-hour time span of action, and that's about it. So when you compare it to like the original Black Panther, like there's a lot going on in that movie. And that movie is like so insanely well done, and it just like moves along, right? And you're like, man, I'm invested in this movie. This movie's great. This one, I was like, I know when I'm like looking at my phone like 6, 7, 8 times that I'm starting to get a little bored. Then I'm like,
Yeah.
we need to like speed it up a little bit. So it was a necessity, right, to set up a number of characters that they're going to use later, which is good. But I don't know, it's just a bit too much for me. So I think everybody should see it, but it's not one that I'm going to go out of my way to watch again for sure. It's like a one and done for me.
Got it.
Smile.
I think, yeah. I mean, oh yeah. I was gonna say I'm gonna watch it, but like
Yeah.
that's a lot of great insight because I didn't know that it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. I didn't look that
That's
up.
what I think. It's the longest today. It was something like it was the longest one in the Marvel universe so far, I think, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Probably drags a little bit. That's the only thing about movies that long, is you can definitely tell when it drags.
You can do a 3-hour movie, and I've sat through 3-hour movies, Lord of the Rings being one of them,
Batman
but
recently.
you got to keep my attention, right? And like you got to be like, you can have those scenes where they're explaining stuff, but like you got to follow it up with something to like keep me like interested.
Yeah.
But anyway, give me Smile.
Smile's great.
Wait.
I said Smile's great. Yeah, give me a smile. Smile. Smile is great. I'm watching it a little late because I'm not a rich guy, so I can't go to every movie. But Paramount Plus and Peacock, if anybody has those particular streaming services, it's dope because of the fact that 45 days after certain movies are in theater, they get to roll out. Smile was supposed to be on Paramount Plus initially until they smartly brought it back. And we're like, let's release this theatrically. And they did. And they made a lot of money. But anyway, the actual movie, I really enjoyed it. It's a longer one for a scary movie. It's about an hour and 55 minutes. But essentially what happens is there is this woman who works in a hospital specifically with in mental health and mental patients and such like that. And she gets one person who comes in on an ambulance, and she was supposed to take off for the day, but she didn't. She decided to stay and just kind of like take this one last person. And this particular girl was having an issue where nobody was believing her. She sees an entity. You can kind of see where that's going. Nobody believes her. So she ends up in the session where she's asking the girl whether or not, or like just general questions about like just everything. The entity comes and causes the girl to freak out. And then as the woman is calling for help, she turns around and the girl's smiling. Everybody's seen the trailer. What I do like about the movie is, number one, it's a nice slow burn. Where they nail it is there's not as many jump scares as I thought there were going to be. What they get you with is anticipation of jump scares. They do the refrigerator door opening, and like she gets something out of the refrigerator, and then she closes the door and nothing's there. Usually in a lot of movies there is.
Yeah, the refrigerator is you go to the refrigerator, you're getting jumped. That's how horror
it's like
every time.
Yeah, it's like the bathroom scene when somebody gets something out of their cabinet, the medicine cabinet, they close it.
Someone's in the mirror,
So like they don't do that a lot, which is actually kind of nice because what they do is they kind of make you think that you're going to get something. But what she does is she keeps seeing smiling entities throughout the movie. Either she sees them from far away, she sees them in a dark location. Sometimes there is a jump scare regarding it. But what they also do correctly in this particular movie is the girl, the main character, also struggles with her own mental health because of something that happened to her as a child. Classic, like, something with mom or dad that scars you for life. So in actuality, what the movie is there is something, like there is a thing, like a demon entity, ghost, whatever you want to call it, that gets transferred over to her from seeing that girl die by it, and now she has it. But it also is compounded with her naturally already struggling with her own demons. That's where they do it correctly. The movie, I'd say I would watch it if there was like a Craig number of times I'd watch it. I'd probably watch it 2 or 3 times a year, maybe in the next year,
So
year and a
it's a
half.
Craig watch 2 out of 5.
Yeah,
2 out of 5.
it's a Craig watch 2 out of 5.
All right.
As you guys know, I'm easily scared, so I enjoyed the anticipation of thinking there was gonna be 7 more jump scares than there actually was. It made the movie better for me. I'm interested to see what you think, Craig, because you're not as easily jump scared as myself.
I think the jump scare that they put in the trailer, which I feel like they shouldn't have, was done so well. Like I
Yeah.
just I the one where she's in the car, it's
Yes.
so good, and I really wish they wouldn't have put that in the trailer because I feel like that would have hit so much harder if I didn't know
It
it was
would've.
coming because it's
Mhm.
so good.
It is good.
Yeah, some of the people some of the people that, like, the entity uses when they're smiling, when they're trying to do, like, this smile that's supposed to come across as creepy is almost comical to me. Like, some people pull it
Yeah.
off better than others in this movie, but, I enjoyed it. I thought it was done very well. The story's interesting. It has, like, kinda like a Ring vibe where, like, you saw it, now you're gonna die in I think they said
Yeah.
4 days, right? The movie's 4 days.
Well, actually, they said a lot of people died in 7, but
Yeah.
some people didn't last before 4. It's just that's the funny
Yeah.
thing about the whole thing.
Yeah, so it has
Yeah.
that Ring vibe to it. Uh, the the ending's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Um, the way the entity looks is an interesting choice, but I think it works.
Mhm.
It was enjoyable. I probably would have watched it in theaters. I was actually going to, and then I forgot it was in theaters. But I feel like it would have been a good movie to see in theaters with like a group
Probably,
of
yeah.
people. But yeah, now you can just stream it, and I don't think the 2 hours hurts it. We're so used to like an hour and a half. Anything longer than that in a horror movie is too much. I think it moves along pretty well, and
It does actually.
it didn't feel like it was overstaying its welcome. So yeah, I mean, I'll give it. Let's do a 3 out of 5. We'll do a 3 out of 5.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But yeah, that's
All
all I
right.
watched.
Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about or get off their chest here?
Mm-mm.
I
Nope.
will. I did want to say, do expect us to talk about the Game Award nominations and probably go through them next week. We just had 2 big games come out, and I really wanted to give them their proper spotlight
Yep.
before we go to next week, where we have Evil West, and then not too much more afterward. So starting to slow down, starting to see the video game season finally start to slow down. Thank God, I need it.
Tell
Uh,
Callisto.
Yeah.
yeah, and we'll have more opinions on. I haven't played Warzone 2.0 yet, but I did play DMZ, so we'll kind of get more better opinions about that before we we give our final thoughts on it. But overall, we just want to thank you guys for listening. If you're interested, please make sure to review on your podcast listening platform of choice and that you share it with any friends that you think might like this. If you're interested, we have a Twitter, which who knows if Twitter's going to die or not. We're still kind of waiting on that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Uh,
whole other thing.
Instagram, Facebook, a Twitch as well, in which you could follow us there at if you'd like. We also have an email at highsensitivitypodcast@gmail.com if you would also like to get in touch with us there. Again, we thank you guys for listening. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Later, y'all.